As far as players, obviously in the Ivy League, and specifically camp right now, obviously I have to reach out and see what the player's thinking and see what our people are thinking about him. So that's on the to-do list.
Next question is for Jim Matheson. Jim, as soon as your microphone's active, you can ask your question. Go ahead.
Couple of things, Ken. Broberg, has he opened some eyes here? He played it in Europe last year against the men. Obviously, he's a teenager, but has he opened enough eyes to obviously stick around as part of the hub? And the other question I have, at least your team has been healthy during camp. Lots of other teams have had 4 and 5 and 6 players a day not showing up. Is that obviously is a positive thing?
Yeah, as far as Broberg, basically, coming into the hub, it was, I talked to his agent, Darren Ferris, and his European agent, Radek, and I talked to Philip. I talked to the Skellefteå general manager. The plan really was he was going to come over here for phase 3. And when we went into the hub, the plan, and I'm talking about a plan, a month ago, the plan was that at about Friday or Saturday of this week, he was going to go back to Skellefteå. They're starting their training camp here in the next week or so. The Swedish team's late July, with obviously Mike Green opting out. I talked to Dave Tippett in advance of phase 3 to say, let's keep a close watch on Broberg. Let's see how he plays. And if he plays well enough, we can make a decision to take him with us in the hub. Obviously, we think he's played pretty well. I've informed Skellefteå and talked to Darren Ferris, and I talked to Philip Broberg a couple of days ago to tell him that we are going to take him into the hub with us. And obviously, we're going to go in with 10 defensemen, and it's up to the coach to determine how they're all going to be used. So, I'll monitor. Certainly, I understand Skellefteå is starting their training camp. He's a young player, but he's played very well here in the early going. Now things are going to, things always ramp up. I look back to September every year in training camp, and there's week 1, and then the vets take it to another level in week 2. And then they ramp it up, and you try to find out which young players can kind of go with as the veterans take the level of play to a higher level. Where do people start to drop off? So I'll continue to monitor. But I think for him, he's 19 years of age. Obviously, he's junior eligible. This year, he's to play in the World Junior. He's a young player. I think it's been a fabulous experience for him to be around an NHL training camp every day now for 10 days, and it'll go on at least for another couple of weeks that he'll be around our guys. So I think it's going to be really good for him in his development.
Next question, Josh.
I think Andre, Jim had one other question. What was the second part of that question?
Oh, hang on one second. Let me find Jim, and I'll let him ask us the second part of his question.
Oh, I remember.
Okay.
Jim was asking about other organizations. Some other teams have had 5 and 6 players out. Certainly, we feel fortunate that we were able to start camp. Obviously, Caleb Jones was out, but other than that, we've have had everybody on the ice pretty well on an everyday basis since day one. We're playing a game tonight. Everybody's playing in the game, so I think that I think that's an advantage that there's been some continuity on an everyday basis to have all our players on the ice day after day after day after day. So certainly, good decisions by all our players. Good luck with health. I'm sure there's other players around the league that have been injured. I was worried coming into camp about the possibility of groin pulls and hip flexors, with guys that haven't been on the ice. But touch wood, we haven't had any of those issues, and so I think it's allowed us to be as prepared as we head into nearing the end of week 2 and going into the hub on Sunday. It's allowed us to be as prepared as we possibly can prepared. We've had everybody on the ice on an everyday basis, and I think that's a real advantage.
Next question, Josh Clipperton. Go ahead, Josh.
Hey, Ken, just a couple follow-ups. First one, in your experience of scouting AHL or different leagues, what's other than the obvious length of the series, what's the difference in a 5-game series versus a 7-game series in terms of how you approach it? And secondly, what do you think about the lack of a dress code for teams across the league in the hubs?
Well, first off, a best of 5 series versus a best of 7. Obviously, things happen way quicker. You're going to go into game 1 and you lose. Someone's going to win game 1 and someone's going to lose, and there's now game 2 is almost a must win. Almost. I mean, you can lose games 1 and 2 and come back and win 3 in a row. But you start the analytics, the odds start to get long. So I think that the importance of getting off to a good start, and at worst being split after 2 games as you're starting to find your game. You don't want to start to find your game. You lose the first 2, and you can totally dominate a game, and a goalie can beat you, and you lose that game. So it's certainly it's going to happen fast. We're playing Saturday, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, Saturday. I mean, from Saturday to Saturday, somebody is moving on and somebody's been eliminated. So it's going to happen. It's going to happen real fast. And as far as the dress code, I'm not sure I can't speak. Obviously, there's going to be 12 teams here. And we're going to talk to our players here in the next tomorrow. We're going to have a meeting with our players to talk about the hub. That's one of the things that we'll talk about. Certainly, you want our teams to, look, you like them to look professional. But certainly, if there's no fans around, there's no media around, they're going to walk from the rink over to here. You want them to look good. So I'm not sure what all the players are going to wear. Certainly, that's been agreed upon between the NHL and the NHLP that there's no dress code. So I don't know what players are going to be thinking, but I'm sure that they'll look good, they'll look professional.
We'll take 3 more questions. Mark Spector, go ahead.
After those 2 fine questions from my colleague, Josh Clipperton, I would ask you this, Ken. You've been part of really good teams in Detroit that went in the playoffs. I'm thinking of I think it was 2004 with Calgary, 2006 against Edmonton that got upset. Now you're leading a team that's a pretty good team, and everyone's giving them a shot to compete in the playoffs. I'm not going to say you're going in as a Stanley Cup favorite, but the whole landscape of this playoff has changed, right? Everyone's healthy, and it's a completely unique situation. How do you feel? How do you feel about your chances? How do you feel? Do you feel the Oilers' chances get better under this scenario?
I think it's wide open. I think I'm not going to tell you all 24 teams can win the playoff, the Stanley Cup tournament, but I think all 24 teams can win a playoff round. And then if you win one playoff round, you get on a roll. Mark, there's so many. What everybody doesn't know is injuries, and injuries, and if you need depth, but there's certain injuries that you're able to kind of overcome. And how long are the injuries? Are the injuries for a game, or are the injuries that you're losing a key player for an entire series? So over the course of time, things change, and that's why I think, and again, over 82 games, the teams that have great years win lots of games by a goal. And the teams that aren't quite as good don't win quite as many by a goal. And as you start to get into a 16-team tournament, now it's 24, but, that's why the Stanley Cup playoffs are number 8s can beat number 1s, and 7s can beat 2s. You talked about in 05, 06, so I think we had a 126 or 128 point team that lost in the first round to the Edmonton Oilers, and Edmonton went on to Game 7 of the Stanley Cup Finals. So that's the beauty of the Stanley Cup Finals, and I've been at it long enough to know you don't get comfortable, and you throw all the expectations out the window. You can throw all the regular season stats out the window, and you start from scratch. And last year, the 2 number 1 seeds between Tampa Bay and Calgary, I think they won one game. One team got swept, and one team lost in 5. So the parity has never been better. How do I feel about our chances? I feel that if we play our very best and we get real good luck with with health, we have a chance to go on a long run. But if we don't play our best, it could be a short run. We're playing a team in Chicago. They've got Patrick Kane and Taze and Duncan Keith, and they've got really good young players in Kirby Doc and DeBrincat. They got a nice mix of veterans and leaders, and their Stanley Cups aren't that far behind them, so they know how to win. They've been in playoff hockey before, so we've got a real tough opponent right off the bat, and we're going to have to be at our very best to be able to win the series. And if we're not at our very best, there's a real good chance that we won't advance. So, to the question before, the importance of being able to hit the ground running for game one over the next 10 days, we got to try to ramp this, find our game and ramp it up a little bit more, because the series happens Saturday to Saturday in 1 week. I think we feel good about what we accomplished over 71 games to put ourselves in this position. But in pro sports, you got to prove yourself every night, every game, and every year. And this is another opportunity that we have to prove ourselves.
2 more questions. Next up will be Ryan Rashog. Ryan, go ahead.
Kenny, just a thought about, this moment that we're in here where people are doing things for the first time in terms of just kind of putting together this hub training camp and having to head into this bubble to play games and all of the things that, everyone's experiencing for the first time. I wonder about the value of having a coaching staff with the level of experience that your coaching staff has, just in terms of being able to, figure out how to handle these situations the best way possible, and the job you see your staff doing in coming up with a plan, and how that'll maybe benefit you as more new things come at you for the first time.
Well, I think, I'm going to give you my own personal opinion. I think, I put an emphasis on experience. I think, what does experience mean? It means you've been in lots of situations and you've dealt with those situations, and some of those situations have turned out and some haven't turned out. And maybe the next time you handle that situation, you can fall back on that experience to give you some, to help you maybe handle a situation differently or the same. And that's certainly, Dave Tippett's been a coach in the National Hockey League for over 1,200 games. He's played in the National Hockey League. He's coached in Dallas. He's coached in Arizona. He's now obviously a coach here for 70 games in Edmonton. So, Jim Playfair has been around the game a long time. He was a head coach in Calgary, he's an assistant coach. He worked with, I was watching NHL Rewind the other night. I was watching the 04 Game 6, Detroit versus Calgary, when Calgary won 1-0 in overtime to eliminate Detroit, and saw Jim Playfair on the bench. I came in the next morning. I told him how young he looked and how good he looked on the bench. So, our coaching staff, Gully's been around pro hockey a long time. He's been a head coach, been an assistant coach, at the NHL level and at other levels. So we've got a very experienced coaching staff that have had a lot of experiences. We're going into a hub. Nobody has been in a hub. Probably this is, I lived in I was with the Canadian Olympic team in Sochi in 2014, and it was in the athletes village, and I was rooming with Steve Yzerman, and across the hall was Doug Armstrong and Peter Chiarelli, and the Canadian hockey team was on floors 2 to 6. I think we were in a 6-4 athletes village. So that's probably, for me, the closest thing I'm going to come to what we're going into this hub, this bubble that on Sunday, where you've got all the teams, all the athletes combined into one area, and they're going to, you're going to be bumping into one another in the lobby. And I think they're going to try to have the schedule so that you don't see people, but you're still going to see people from other teams, other athletes on a regular basis. So it's a unique experience. Whoever wins this Stanley Cup is going to have, if a team in the play, and you're going to have to win 5 rounds versus 4, we're all going to have to deal with the being in a hub, being in a bubble. So I think that the team that wins the Stanley Cup is going to be a champion, just like any other years. They're going to have to deal with a lot of adversity. It's going to be unique. It's going to be different. it's going to take a lot of good luck with health and a lot of depth and a lot of focus and certainly having an experienced coaching staff, I think, is an advantage for our team and for I say advantage. There's other teams that have veteran coaching staffs, but certainly Dave Tippett, I thought, did a great job with us for the 1920 season, and I feel good that we've got a veteran, a guy, a coach with an experienced coach at the wheel.
Next question, final question to Jim Matheson. Jim, go ahead.
A couple of things, Ken. You kind of live right by the rink, so how's that going to be in a hotel when you're about 5 feet away from where you live? You're in the hub. And the other question I have for you is, there's no home ice advantage, I guess, this time. So if it ever gets to a 7th game, you can't say, "Oh, we're going home and we've got all our fans to cheer us on." Does that make this the most unique thing?
Yeah, very unique. I mean, obviously, what the home team advantage is going to be last change. I mean, it's going to be the matchup. So obviously, games 1 and 2 against Chicago, Dave Tippett can set up the matchups that he wants, and games 3 and 4, Chicago can set up their matchups. And then if we get to a game 5, so that's going to be the advantage. It's not going to be the advantage of having the home crowd, the emotion of them behind you. But certainly in our sport, certainly have the last matchup is important. I bought a place in the Legends, so I'm moving from 451 down to I think I think our team's on somewhere in the lower 23 floors. I'm not sure. So certainly I'm moving. I'm in the same building, but I'm moving down closer to ground level, and I'm excited to get into the hub. I'm excited for the opportunity. I'm excited for it's unique. It's different. I'm excited to see how the games are going to look. Nobody knows, and I think I'm a sports fan. I'm a hockey fan. I've been fortunate to be in pro hockey since I've been 20 years old as a player, as a scout, and management, and as a general manager. We got the greatest athletes in the world, and I think that they're going to go out starting August 1, and everybody wants to get their name on the Stanley Cup. It's special. I'm fortunate that I've 4 times our team won the Stanley Cup, and the ability to have a Stanley Cup party, and everybody. There's 24 teams that have that opportunity. One team is going to be the last team standing and be the Stanley Cup champion. They're going to be a real worthy champion because, like I said, if it's a play-in team, you got to win 5 rounds instead of 4, and it's going to be different. It's going to be unique. And I think it's going to be exciting. And obviously, games are going to be on TV morning till night. And if you're a hockey fan, you're going to be able to start watching hockey around noon Eastern time until, I don't know, midnight Eastern time, 1 o'clock Eastern time, 1:30 Eastern time, and maybe longer if you go into overtime. So it's going to be exciting for our sport.
Thank you very much, Ken, and thanks to members of the media. That brings to a conclusion today's availability. We'll be sending audio and video files later today. Thank you.